Welcome everybody to Rage of Razor show channel thing. I'm not quite sure what we're going to call this, but if you follow the Horror Syndicate, which is a whole different animal, we go and talk about movies constantly live, and we do a show called Horror Movie Massacre, where we discuss the movie and grade them based on a 10 category scale based on a 10-point scale. And we come up with a score, like a percentage is what it comes out to be, like kind of like a Rotten Tomatoes score. It's like 75%. Let's say this movie is 75%. Anyway, we're going to be starting that very soon, but with Aquaman, the newest Aquaman, the last Aquaman as of now, and the Lost Kingdom coming out, we decided that it came out streaming on Tuesday. We're going to do kind of a post-mortem of the DCEU, and we're going to rank them. But first, we're going to go through and talk about each one of them. Just kind of like, what do you think about this one? A couple minutes on each movie. And then Seth's going to do his ranking. And I'm just going to rank the top five for myself because we don't need to go through the list twice. Because our top five, that's what really matters. We'll go through all of them, and I'll say where mine is maybe. But when we get to his, we'll do his, and then we'll do my top five because our top fives are different. But the rest almost don't even matter. So please hit the like button. If you're new to the channel, we're at 75 subscribers. Love to get to 100 sometime soon. We will have spoilers for the DCEU movies, and subscribe, like if you're on Facebook too, because it's on both, blah, blah, blah. I'll bring in Seth now. Seth is an Avatar. Hey, Seth, how are you, Avatar Seth?
I'm doing good.
Long time no talk. Yeah, I know, right? We just finished a show on the Horror Syndicate and decided to do this. Now, tomorrow on Leap Day, we will be doing a Superman show. We're just going to talk Superman, our love for Superman, maybe do our favorite actors to play Superman, Lois, blah, 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 Lex Luthor, whoever. And maybe even talk about some of our favorite Superman cartoons, stuff like that. So that'll be tomorrow because it's Superman's birthday. And then next week, we're starting with X-Men next week, right? The first X-Men movie from 2000, I think is when it came out. Is that right?
I thought you wanted to change that because we were originally going to start with X-Men, but then you wanted to do them leading into Deadpool.
That's correct. I made a schedule. So let me look at that real fast. So, Spider-Man, the 2002 Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie is our first topic, where we will be ranking these movies, or rating these movies, and then Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 3, Amazing Spider-Man, and Amazing Spider-Man 2. Then April 8th, Fantastic Four, Fantastic Four 2, Daredevil, and then on the 29th of April, we're going to be doing the X-Men movies leading up to Deadpool and Wolverine. And by the end, which would be August, we will be ranking all of the Fox X-Men expanded universe, I guess you could call it, with the Deadpool movies, the X-Men movies, the Wolverine movies, and New Mutants. So that's what we've got planned for the first few months of this. And then starting in August, we will be going back through these one by one. That's why we're not going to spend a ton of time on these tonight. And then we'll do our ranking of the DCEU. And then we will be doing our Crisis on Infinite Earths discussion for those three animated movies from the Tomorrowverse, and then a complete Tomorrowverse ranking episode after that. Then we're going to take the rest of the year off, coming back strong in 2025 as we lead into, a whole new slate of superhero movies. Hopefully, we've got all of the old DC movies to talk about, from The Dark Knight to Batman 89, Batman 66. We've got the MCU, which we're going to talk about as well. So there's a ton of stuff we're going to talk about, and we're going to rank all this stuff. The MCU is going to take like 5,000 hours to rank. So, and we're probably won't get into the shows. We're just going to do theatrical MCU, I think, right?
Yeah, because fuck those shows.
Yeah, even Bruce Banner himself said the shows are are kind of ruining the MCU, and I agree with them. Some of them were okay at first, but for the most part, I'm not a big fan of almost any of them. Sean Sheridan came over from the Horror Syndicate. So Man of Steel is in his top 10 movies of all time. Also, comment if you're here or later. Comment, and we'll if you're here, we'll read them off while we're online while we're live. All right, Batman v Superman. Oh, interesting. I like the Shazam movies are fun. You get messaged. I wonder if that's because. Hold on. I know I put us live on my Facebook page, but I don't know if there's any sound. Let's find out. Nope, there's sound. Okay. I know, like when I used to do live streams, the sound wouldn't come up. I don't know if you ever watched my old live streams. I try to stream it once a day. Do you remember that? I think it was
Oh yeah.
2021, maybe.
Yep.
All right. So anyway, we're gonna get started with. We'll see. We'll get started with the first movie, and like I said, we're covering from Man of Steel all the way to Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Man of Steel being the first movie, which is one of Seth's favorites. So let's talk about the Man of Steel, Seth.
Yeah, I love Man of Steel. I'm a huge Superman fan, and this is, I would say, my third favorite Superman movie. I think it's got
After Superman 4, of course.
totally. Um, I think it's got some great action in it. I like Henry as Superman. In my mind, I sort of justify the differences between the differences in the liberties that were taken. DC is big on multiverse, and this is just a different world where Kal-El is raised by very cynical and almost kind of selfish Jonathan Martha Kent. So I really dig this movie a lot. I saw it in the theaters a couple of times. It's like, and every time I watch it, I just am reminded about why I love it. So yeah, this is definitely a favorite of mine.
I like this movie quite a bit. I didn't know if it was going to be a jumping point. Of course, they hired Christopher Nolan as what was he, a producer?
Yeah,
and he was coming off of the success of the Batman movies, The Dark Knight, Batman Begins, and The Dark Knight Rises, and this was a year after The Dark Knight Rises. And honestly, there's part of me, as much as I love Ben Affleck as Batman, there's a part of me wishes that they would have continued. And honestly, I'll be honest, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of wish the Green Lantern movie from 2011 was all part of the same universe, but DC screwed up. And it wasn't this movie that they screwed up on. I think Henry Cavill is a fantastic Superman. I love him. I love the score. I think it's a great movie overall. Lots of fun. This has the same problem that Batman Begins has, though. They spent way too long on his origin. That's my biggest problem with this movie. We've seen Superman's origin over and over again. We don't need to see it again. I mean, we got 10 seasons of Smallville. That is, but overall, I like it quite a bit.
yeah.
The second movie released was BVS, Batman vs Superman, and I don't know, was this reactionary or was this the plan? Because I don't think they really had a plan.
Well, I think Snyder did have a plan. And like when he was making Man of Steel, I think he did have a plan of like what he wanted to do kind of going forward. But yeah, I mean, this movie was one where I only watched the Ultimate Edition because the theatrical, I think, is very choppy and missing crucial elements of the story. But yeah, I know this movie gets hated a lot, but I really dig it. I know it's very dark, and again, this is a different world's version of these characters. On top of what I mentioned about the way Superman is, you can look at this one as this is a world where the Joker mentally beat Batman. And
Hmm.
there's some great exchanges between Bruce and Alfred in regards to that, where Alfred, he mentions, uh, something about good men turning cruel, almost in a reference to Bruce. So yeah, I think it's got good action. I dig the score. I feel like they did a little too much in this movie. It's a little overstuffed, trying to be follow up to Man of Steel, dealing with the repercussions of sorts of how the public views Superman after the destruction of Metropolis. And then it's also trying to be a loose adaptation of The Dark Knight Returns, trying to set up the Justice League, and then it's also doing the Death of Superman. And it's just a little too much. Like, I know you and I have talked about this many times, Ray, where
Hmm.
I feel like there should have been more patience with building this world, and there should have been a Man of Steel 2, and then there should have been a solo Batman film where we see where we see sort of the downfall of Batman.
Right.
So this, when they get to this Batman v Superman, it would make sense. You start off a film with Batman being the good guy that we all know and everything, with his no kill rule and all that. And then gradually, as the film goes along, the Joker just, you because some of these things, if I remember correctly, happen pretty close together in the comics. So you could have, the Joker shooting and paralyzing Barbara Gordon and kidnapping and torturing Jim Gordon. You could have the Joker also kill Jason Todd, and like you could even have where the Joker almost kills Nightwing or something like that. Where the Joker just launches this all-out attack on the Bat family, and that's what causes Bruce to be the way that he is in this particular film.
Mm.
Like I feel like if they had that type of film that showed his descent, this movie would probably make a lot more sense, because as far as I'm concerned, it's kind of understanding.
I like this
But
movie
yeah,
immediately. By the
I,
way,
I dig this one.
yeah, I like this one immediately when I saw it in the theater. I saw it a couple of times, and then the ultimate cut made it so much better for me. Ben Affleck is such a fantastic Batman. Pair him with a great Superman, and I think one of the things that killed the box office numbers and ultimately may have killed the whole DCEU, and it wasn't the movie being too dark. It wasn't any of that stuff. I don't think that was a problem. I think that there was a big part of the movie that shouldn't have been spoiled by a trailer, and it was the Doomsday scene. If people came out of the theater not are going to went into the theater not knowing about that and came out of the theater like, holy shit, I didn't expect Superman to die in this movie. I think that could have brought more people to the theater, but they see Doomsday. They're like, okay, so what I see, they're jamming too much into one movie, and they did, but I still love this movie. 3 hour runtime is not even enough for me, to be honest. I love this fucking movie.
Well,
Um,
I think they shouldn't have done Doomsday. I feel like Doomsday came too fast
I do
into
too,
this
but
world.
well, of course he came too fast. That's why he's got so many kids. Oh, but no, I do
Zing.
too, but he's there, so there's no overlooking the fact that Doomsday is there. If you're gonna have him in the movie, don't show him in the fucking trailer. Don't even show Wonder Woman in the trailer. Like they
Yeah,
showed too much in the trailer, and I think that
yeah.
is part of the reason why no butts went in the seats. So I think that's just a theory. Theory time, as Heavy Spoilers says. All right. Next one is Suicide Squad. Um, I'd like to see the Ayer cut. That's all I really have to say. I like this movie overall. I thought the casting was really good, especially Will Smith and Margot Robbie. But I'd really like to see the Ayer cut.
Yeah, I agree with you. I thought this movie was fine. It was kind of fun. It was kind of dumb, certain aspects. I think the villains were the weak part of it, really. And yeah, it's another one that gets quite a bit of hate, but and it's way low on my ranking list of
Mhm.
these films, but it's one that I think is fine. I think it's a fine movie.
I like it. There's a lot of stuff I don't like, but I mean, there's some cool stuff. Like I think it's the cut that we got is the reason why. But
Oh yeah,
like the
totally.
intro, like there's the introductions of every single character, which it's okay. But there's a couple things I do like about that, like the scene with Harley Quinn and Batman and the Joker. I thought that was really cool. And then the Deadshot, not the day Deadshot or whatever he says. Um, I really like that, but I don't know. It is edited weird. I know Jared Leto, whatever his Joker. He said that a lot of his Joker was cut, which is sad, even though his Joker looks stupid.
Yeah.
Um, I'd like to see an Ayer cut released. I'm sure we'll never see that. So hashtag release the Ayer cut. So uh, next, I believe that was released was the first Wonder Woman movie, which was huge. Um, I like it. I'm not a huge fan. I think the ending was kind of eh. But there's some great scenes like this one here where she comes out of the trench and fights off the bad guys. And that scene in the building where she's like sweeping their legs and just moving from like Gal Gadot is a great Wonder Woman. And I hope that I was hoping that she'd be one of the things that stays. I don't think she will, but what do you think of Wonder Woman?
I actually love this movie. I think it's a great movie from character the characters of Wonder Woman and Steve Trevor. I think are
Yeah.
done very well in this movie. I like because the relationship feels a little bit more mature, so it's not like your traditional love story because there's bigger things happening and they're both sort of soldiers of sorts. But I also like I think Gal is perfect as Diana because she plays a very tough woman who was raised as an Amazon warrior of sorts, and but she was also sheltered, and then so she comes into the rest of the world, and it's all like a shock to her, and it clashes with her ideals and beliefs, and I think Gal plays it perfectly, and I love that scene where in the trench there, where her and Steve are talking, and she's really wanting to get out there, but Steve is like, "We have a mission."
Mhm.
So it makes for a wonderful scene. And then I also, I thought Chris Pine, I think, is really good in this movie, and I don't really think highly of him as an actor, but I thought he was really good in this movie. And when he pulled the Steve Rogers in the third act, I thought that was a good moment. So I really have a lot of love for the first Wonder Woman movie.
Yeah, I dig it. It's not my favorite, but I like it overall. And again, she is fantastic as Diana slash Wonder Woman, and she's really a highlight when she showed up in BVS. Honestly, I'd have been fine in BVS if she would have never shown up as Wonder Woman because just having her in there, like the connective tissue, would have been cool. But her theme is amazing. Let's not forget about the Wonder Woman theme. That's like it's nearly as great as the Superman theme from Richard Donner's Superman film, in my opinion.
Well, I remember being in the theater for BVS, and when she
Hmm.
shows up in the third act there to help Batman and Superman, and her music starts playing, like I don't know, I got like goosebumps. Like
Oh
I
yeah.
thought it was like the music is perfect for her, and it
Hmm.
just happened at like just the right moment, and it was a really exciting scene.
It's very exotic sounding to me. I love it. Next up, we have everybody's worst nightmare, uh, Justice League from 2017. When it was released, I knew it wasn't going to be great, and it wasn't great. But I was like, other than the fact of Henry Cavill's mustache problem, I was like, all right, cool. That's we got a Justice League movie. I got to see more Ben Affleck as Batman, more Wonder Woman, and kind of Henry Cavill. Not particularly hot on Ezra Miller's take on the Flash at all. Um, and Jason Momoa as Aquaman was pretty cool, even though he's just basically a dude. Um, but yeah, Cyborg. It was cool seeing Cyborg on the big screen. I don't know. I think I know, but I don't know why they decided to go with Cyborg as a part of the Justice League because he's generally a Teen Titan, and just I think as of New 52 is when he became part of the Justice League. So it's still pretty fresh for me. What about you on this one? Not the Snyderverse or Snyder Cut.
Yeah, I mean, when I saw it in the theater, I thought it was fine. Like it was,
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't sort of like on par with what I wanted, but and my initial reaction was it was okay. But then after learning about all the behind the scenes stuff, and then eventually seeing the Snyder, the Snyder film the way it was intended,
Mm-hmm.
uh, this movie is just gonna sit on my shelf and collect dust until
And
the
it
end of time.
plummeted down the ranking list for me. Like I was like, oh, it's not
All
bad.
the
It's
way.
it is
Yeah.
what it is. And now it's the worst one.
Yep.
It's number 16.
Yep.
So
Yep.
um yeah, I mean I do. I'm going to tell you when we're done. One of the big strengths of the DCEU, just like I think it's the same thing with the Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern movie, is that it may have been a failure overall commercially and financially, but at least there's bigger exposure to these characters that nobody knew of before. And this also happened in the same time of the CW with the Flash, people may have known who the Flash was, but now they've been more exposed to the Flash. So the next time there's a Flash, it may do a lot better. Just like Green Lantern, people know more about this stuff. Green Arrow, even because of the wonderful Arrow show. Because most people think of DC, and the first thing they think about is Batman or Superman. Now we've seen
Yeah.
Wonder Woman, and we've seen all these other characters, two Aquaman movies. So I think that the next go around they may be better because they have been exposed to all these characters now. I think that's a big thing, honestly. Um, but going into 2018, the one movie from 2018 is Aquaman. Fun movie. Let me ask you this: watching the Aquaman movies, the two Aquaman movies, do they make you want to see James Wan do a Star Wars movie?
Oh, totally.
Yeah,
James
right.
Wan is a James Wan's a very competent filmmaker.
Oh yeah.
And he I mean, I think both of the movies have good action, so yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I would definitely dig it. But do you trust? Do you think Disney will ever do a good Star Wars movie?
I think the biggest problem with Disney and Star Wars, and we'll get into that at some point on this channel. Um, I think the biggest problem with Disney and Star Wars is they're stuck in that 60 year time span between the Phantom Menace and the Rise of Skywalker. Get out of there. I mean, there's a new show coming out, which I don't trust the producer, that Leslie Headland or something like that. But there's the Acolyte show
Yeah,
could help us
yeah,
because that's one of the first projects that's going to be far away from the timeline. And that's what I think they need to do. And I know James Mangold is supposed to be making a movie. I don't think that's going to ever happen, by the way. But like, get away from all these characters that we know and love. Let's see earlier stuff, mostly earlier stuff. I don't want to see stuff set way in the future because then you can talk about the Skywalker saga. I want to get away from that. Go 1,000 years into the fucking anyway. Aquaman, fun movie. I'm still not a big fan of Jason Momoa as Aquaman. I get it. I get why they did it, and he did a fine job for that Aquaman. But he, like, honestly, I think his brother, who Orm, looks more like Aquaman. First of all, and
yeah,
I love Patrick Wilson. I was watching this, and I was like, why isn't he Aquaman? I
yeah,
was like, and I like Jason Momoa overall, but look at him. He is fucking Lobo. He almost doesn't need to do anything. He's Lobo. Like, how did Zack Snyder miss that?
Well, I think the Momoa version is modeled after the '90s Aquaman. when he
Yeah,
had long hair and a beard and a hook hand.
they should have gave him a hook hand.
Yeah. But the first Aquaman movie, I think, is good, um, and I think it's got good action. You know, I initially liked Momoa more as the character, like when with this movie and with Justice League and stuff, but it, I don't know. Just after watching the new one, it's just like he's almost just kind of playing himself.
Yeah, pretty much.
So he's I don't know. He's a little too goofy. Like I I would imagine Aquaman being more of like a dickhead character, like
Hmm.
maybe not too
Yeah,
far removed from how he was like in the alternate Flashpoint timeline.
yeah. Or the new
And you
52
would think that
version at
Momoa would
least.
play that type of character.
Mhm. No,
Yeah,
he's too jovial.
yeah,
I think Patrick Wilson would have been a great Aquaman, honestly. Uh, yeah,
I
and
agree
he
with
did
that.
great as Orm. I think he was great as Orm. I think he's too old. I was watching it last night, and I was thinking to myself, I'm like, they got to find him a role in DC. I love him too much. I mean, he was in The Watchmen. He was awesome in The Watchmen. One of those standout roles for me. Um,
Yeah,
That's another one of my favorites. I love The Watchmen. But yeah, this was a good movie, but made over. I think it was the first DCEU movie to make over $1 billion, and it gave them a lot of like, okay, yeah, we're gonna do this. And then Shazam came
yeah,
out, and I liked this movie quite a bit. It's a fun ass movie, but it didn't do great at the box office, even though it was another horror director, by the way. Uh, another failure, basically. And this was one of the better movies, in my opinion, as far as fun for the whole family. John Glover's back in DC, which was great.
yeah. His fourth character.
Hmm. Yep. If anybody doesn't know, John Glover played Lionel Luthor on Smallville, Dr. Jason Woodrue in Batman and Robin, and he did the voice of the Riddler in Batman the Animated Series, and then he was in this as well. So
Yep.
he was the father of Silvani. I can't remember his name. I'm
Yeah.
not a big Shazam guy, so what do you think of this one?
It surprised me, to be honest with you, because when I saw the trailers, I wasn't really digging it. But then seeing the movie, I felt like the movie had a lot of heart, had good humor, um,
Mm-hmm.
and and it was overall it was fun. So it was like it was surprisingly fun for me. I
Yeah,
like it a lot.
it's actually one that I've watched more than I thought I would. Zachary Levi is great, and so is my highlight for this movie. And I was wondering is we were going to see the rest of the Shazam family, that we got to see in the New 52. Anyway, and they did. I was like, holy shit, there they are, all of them. So it was really cool to see that. That
Hmm.
totally surprised me, and it looks great. They did a great job uh, filming the movie and everything. So I like it quite a bit actually. This is one of the characters that I wish that Zack Snyder would James Gunn would roll into the DCEU. I mean, there are little pieces of connective tissue to the DCEU, like the Superman ending, which you didn't even show Cavill's head, and then the
Hmm.
Batarang. And that's about it, I think. Wonder Woman in the second movie, but if she came over, it'd be fine. So there's some connective tissue, but I mean, there's connective tissue in the second one too. Fucking Peacemaker. So
Yeah.
this is one of three characters I wouldn't mind seeing in James Gunn's, but I don't think that's going to happen. Next up is the Birds of Prey movie, or you called it the Harley Quinn movie, or Harley Quinn the movie, or whatever. Um,
Yeah, because it's barely Birds of Prey. It's Harley Quinn movie, and oh yeah, the Birds of Prey are kind of in it too.
I don't think Birds of Prey was a part of the original title, was it? Because there's like three or four titles for this movie. It's like an Italian movie almost.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, I think it was. I can't remember what. I think it was just the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn, something like that. Anyway, I don't know. I don't give a shit. About the title. It is a Harley Quinn movie, plain and simple. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know how you feel about it. I actually really like it a lot. First of all, one of my favorite characters, two of my favorite characters in DC period are in this movie, and it's Huntress Helena Bertinelli, and they pronounced her name just like my daughter, who's named after Huntress, and then Cassandra Cain, who I don't like this depiction, but I'm glad that she got a little bit of screen
Nice.
time as Cassie Cain. I love Cassie Cain. Weird casting in this movie overall, but I enjoyed the last movie I saw before the pandemic. I really enjoyed it. Bought it immediately when it came out, and Margot Robbie is fantastic. What do you got?
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, overall, I think it's pretty fun. I liked Mary Elizabeth Winstead as the Huntress
Mhm.
and how awkward she was with everyone.
Yeah,
Um, I liked, Margot Robbie is awesome as Harley. Um, I I get a kick out of Ewan McGregor's performance as Black
yes.
Mask.
Ew.
And I just think overall, the film has kind of a fun tone to it, even though it's got a shitty title.
Yeah, I don't care about the title. Well, I say that now, but then the next one's Wonder Woman 84. Awful movie. If not for Justice League 2017, Justice League, this would be the worst one in my opinion. It's not good in any way, shape, or form. What do you think?
This is a big pile of garbage, and I will never ever watch it again. And it's, I think one was a pile of garbage that was set on fire.
Yeah, it is. It's not good. I felt I had to sit through three different times trying to get through this movie because I kept falling asleep. I may try to watch it again. Well, I probably will because I barely remember it when we get to actually rating it and reviewing it. So, but anyway, Zack Snyder's Justice League hashtag release the Snyder Cut. We got it, kind of. I mean, I'm sure that's not exactly what it was supposed to be. I love it. I do think there's Seth. I don't know if you've seen this, but somebody like timed all the slow motion scenes, and if you made them regular speed, the movie would be only 3 hours long. Something like that. It's something crazy like that. What are your overall opinions of this?
I absolutely, hands down, love this fucking movie. It is epic. It is.
I'll be right back. You keep
It's,
talking about it.
it's so wonderful. Like, and it's such a huge improvement over what we got with the theatrical cut. Now, mind you, but so in a way, I'm kind of happy that we got to see this complete version where they said fuck it, we'll just do 4 hours, and uh and I really dig it. I dig the seriousness of the tone. um I actually really love, like, one of my favorite things is like how I love how like BVS begins with a different perspective of the end into Man of Steel. And then this opens with a different perspective of the ending of BVS, where begins the mother boxes and everything. Um, I just think this movie is it's a huge epic. I love watching it. I have a great time watching it, and yeah, it's long for sure, but I enjoy all 4 hours
So
of
do
it,
I.
and I think it's beautifully shot. The score is great. Um, and it's just a great movie.
Yeah, it is. I love it. Every
Exactly,
second of it.
it's a great trilogy.
Yeah, great trilogy. I love every second of this movie. I wish it gave me false hope for more. Not to mention that that scene in Black Adam. I really love this movie. I'm glad that it got to happen because it's way better than the Justice League movie. Ugh, by a long shot.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I don't really have much to say. It's my I think my number two favorite of the whole DCEU. So uh, next one is the Suicide Squad, starring Margot Robbie and John Cena. But I didn't see him. Did you?
Ah,
Fun ass movie. Is better. James Gunn, obviously, this is the movie that led him to, well, that and the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, to be the head of the DCU. And I don't know. I don't know if he was deserved. He did Harley Quinn right. The question is, so if John Cena's Peacemaker is a part of the DCU and the EU, what does that mean for Harley Quinn and all these other King Shark, who's a shark? You know?
well, I don't know. I mean, so far James Gunn has saved everyone who he's worked with so far. So I
Yep.
don't know.
Of course, she's cherry picking his own stuff.
But yeah, totally. But I think this is a big improvement over the first one. I think it's a lot of fun. I enjoyed watching it in the theater.
Mm,
Um, I enjoyed the R-rated tone. Uh, I love the kind of back and forth between Peacemaker and Bloodsport.
yeah, that was fun.
Um, you know, I'm glad that Rick Flag was got to stick around. I was a little disappointed that they killed um, Captain Boomerang so fast
I know that was good
because he
though.
was my favorite character in the first one.
Was he?
Yeah,
Huh.
um, yeah, and I don't even like that actor, but like there was something about him in the first one. I, I don't know. I dig that character. But yeah, I think this is a really good movie.
Yeah, I had fun with it. Again, false hope for me with this one. It things were looking up after we got well Starro. Um, things were looking up after this one, and then we got what did we get after that? Because was there anything? Oh, the Batman came out in March, which I think releasing that or making that movie at all, which I love the Batman, was a mistake if they were trying to save the DCEU. But after that, we got Black Adam, which was supposed to, what did he say? The hierarchy of the DCEU was about to change or something like that. He was right because
Yeah,
he fucked everything up basically. He tried to strong arm the DC people to put Henry Cavill in there because he thought Black Adam should fight Superman, which I mean it's happened here and there, but it's not like a marquee matchup in DC comics. I mean Shazam, and he kind of shit on the Shazam situation a little bit. So yeah, this movie is I think the one that actually killed the DCEU. So what are your thoughts on it? It's an okay movie overall.
fucking A. Come on.
I can hear you, Seth. Every now and again, this he has some lag or something. Seth, can you hear me?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah. Okay, Seth will be back in just a moment, and we'll talk about the Black Adam movie. I will talk about it a little bit longer in length. It's okay. There's nothing special about it. I don't know why The Rock. It took so long to make this movie. Um, I preferred seeing Doctor Fate in live action and Hawkman actually was really cool to Black Adam. Black Adam's not a character I generally care about. Black Adam's not a character who I thought needed his own movie. Um, he would have served well as the next villain up in a Shazam movie rather than what we got in the next Shazam movie. I don't know why he has no connection to this Shazam because he does in the comics. It's just kind of fucking ridiculous who The Rock is and why the movie is the way it is. It's a mid movie to me. Seth, are you there? No, Seth, can you hear me?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You good?
Oh.
Yeah, well, tell us what you thought of
um,
Black Adam.
yes. I think it started off really strong. I like the way the film opens up. I like the whole scene where Black Adam attacks the all the helicopters. Um, but after that, it kind of goes downhill. There are some good things with it. I love Pierce Brosnan as Doctor Fate. Um, it's great seeing Hawkman. Um, you maybe a little bit too much of a dick in this. I felt like you could have had maybe a few moments of levity here and there, but it's not one of my favorites. But I think it's a watchable movie.
Yeah, I've seen it
Did I
twice
fucking freeze
now.
up again?
No, I've seen it twice now, and it's not bad overall. It's just kind of mid. Next released was Shazam: Fury of the Gods. I This is one of the few that I didn't see in the theater, but I did enjoy it for the most part. But it's a definite post pandemic movie. You can tell by the way it's shot, and you can tell there's something different about. I think any movie filmed after 2020 up till about 2022 for those 2 years or so, it felt weird. It felt different. You can tell people weren't like when John Krasinski's in Doctor Strange. You know he's not there in the room with everybody. It's weird, and this movie had that effect, in my opinion. Because I think Black Adam was mostly shot. A lot of it was shot before the pandemic. If you can hear me, Seth, any thoughts on this one? Okay. Well, he's having trouble, which sucks because I know we were looking forward to doing this. Um, I'm gonna message him, and we're just gonna go. I'm just gonna go through the rest of these movies and probably close it out for the night, because he's having one of the worst problems he's had on streaming to date, and I'll just have to change the title of this video. Um, so the next one is I like this movie by the way for the most part. It was okay. Not as great, and the weird ending with the Wonder Woman was kind of strange, but overall I liked it. The next movie was The Flash, and I think James Gunn missed a big opportunity with this movie and resetting the whole DC timeline with this movie. It was okay overall. I didn't hate it. I probably liked it more than others. Um, there are parts that I don't like. I know people shit on the CG stuff and the what do they call that? The salad bowl? No, I don't remember what they call it. But I don't know. I liked it. I thought Ezra Miller was much more bearable. One of them was. The other one was annoying as fuck. I don't know where they lost the idea of who Barry Allen is and why they decided to make him some spaz. Like, uh, it's so weird the way they decided to pick Barry Allen. Um, I'm a Wally West guy, so whatever. Maybe Wally West will be in the DCU with James Gunn's movies. But seeing Michael Keaton come back was cool. Um, not all the CG was dog shit. Not, I think some of it was okay. Sasha Kaye was good as Supergirl. I originally wasn't a fan because she had the black hair, and we've always seen Supergirl with the blonde hair and such. But overall, not bad. Uh, I just wish that the CG was a little bit different because I did like seeing those little cameos. I know a lot of people hated that too, seeing Christopher Reeve as a lifeless CG or Nick Cage, which I thought was kind of fun to see Nick Cage fighting a giant spider like from the Superman Lives script.
Yeah.
You get George Reeves, not Michael Keaton, what's his name? Adam West. It wasn't too bad. Okay, are you there?
Yeah, so far.
Okay, well, tell us what you thought of the Flash.
Um, I don't really care for it that much. I liked it when I first saw it. Even though it's not really much of a Flash movie. Um, but I tried watching it again tonight before we went live, and it's kind of unbearable for me. I do not like Ezra Miller at all, and
No, neither do
you're
I.
spot on. He's not Barry Allen,
Mm-mm.
not in appearance, not in personality. He's barely the figure from the comics, and the thing that I have with this film is like when they first announced that they were going to do a Flash film, like what 2015 or whatever they first announced it. They pretty
Mm-hmm.
much said that they're going to do Flashpoint, and that does not make sense to me whatsoever to do Flashpoint as your first Flash film. I feel like this should have been, because this almost kind of feels like it's like Justice League 1.5, or it's more Batman and world building focused and not Flash focused. And I felt like we should have had a Flash movie focused on the Flash. You could establish everything with his family situation, maybe have Captain Cold come in, something, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But do a Flash movie focused purely on the Flash. And while there is a little bit of a focus on the Flash in this movie, um, it's overshadowed by this really obnoxious performance from Ezra Miller, um, playing a younger alternate version of himself. Um, yeah, there's things I do like about it. Michael Keaton is great as Batman, and it's great seeing him back as
Yeah,
Batman. I
but
do like.
my biggest problem was he was just playing the hits. You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. Yeah, I'm
Oh,
Batman. It's like,
totally. Yeah.
oh, that's cool for the trailers, but again, they shouldn't put those in the trailers.
Hmm. No, I agree.
He is nothing like that in the comics.
Um,
He's so fucking unbearable. Or they, I guess, since Ezra Miller is whatever he calls it, non-binary. I don't know. He's a they, not a he. Well, Barry Allen's a he. Anyway, wow, I shouldn't have got into that. Um, yeah, this was a huge miss. And like I agree with you. Why would they choose Flashpoint to be the first movie of the Flash? That Flashpoint. If anybody doesn't know what Flashpoint is, the comic, it's the bridge from the new 50 or from the old school DC um, continuity to the new 52, where they erased the history and started all over. That's what Flashpoint did. So if you're making a Flashpoint movie, that's what you should be doing is rebooting the universe. That's why this would have been the perfect movie to go into James Gunn's universe. You could have had the new Batman or the new Superman be in that or whatever. No,
Hmm.
they just fucked this all up. They were probably at this point, and I think part of the reason the CGI is so bad is they're like, all right, let me just get this out. Let's just get this out. James Gunn's doing his thing in 2025. We can't keep pushing this back. Let's get it out, get it over with, and move on. I think that's what happened here. That's honestly a lot of what I think happened here.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that the It director Andy Muschietti is not making Batman. At first, I was like, "Cool, he could do Batman," but no, I'm glad he's not doing Batman.
No, I'm glad he's not attached to it as well.
Yeah, I honestly don't want to see a Batman for a while because of the Pattinson and stuff. I don't know why Pattinson can't be in the James Gunn stuff. I think that's dumb, but whatever. you know. So next is we got to see the Blue Beetle over the summer. Fun movie. This one may be in the DCU, may not. I have no idea. But I enjoyed this movie. Fun origin story, kind of like an Iron Man type movie. Good time. What did you think?
Yeah, well, it's another one that surprised me because, especially after seeing the trailers, I'm like, I don't know about this, but um, I had a fun time watching it. I watched it. I didn't see it in the theater. I waited until it came out on HBO Max, but yeah, I thought it was good fun. Had some solid character stuff in there. Yeah, it's fun actually. That's a film I do need to pick up on Blu-ray.
hmm Yeah, I enjoyed it enough to see it in the theater, or the trailer enough to see it in the theater. I like Jolo, whatever his name is, the actor. I like him quite a bit from Cobra Kai. Cobra Kai is a good show. And the only thing I had a problem with was towards the end when the family was fighting and the grandma was turning some hard ass. That was weird, but other than that,
Yeah,
overall, I enjoyed the Blue Beetle movie. Pretty decent, and I do hope it's part of the DCEU or DCU James Gunn's verse. But I don't get how that's going to work. I'm so confused over this already, and we haven't even gotten into it. The DCU. So, and finally, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. I saw this last night. Um, I liked it. I liked Patrick Wilson and him working together after their history from the first movie. I like that Patrick Wilson had no idea how to run. Thought that was fucking hilarious. Because there's a scene where he's like trying to run into the ocean and then he doesn't move his arms. Like, holy shit, is that how he runs? And then they make the joke later on. I was like, oh, okay, that's funny. That's really funny. He has no idea how to run because it makes sense. Just like the whole ending where he's eating a burger. I like that too.
yeah.
What'd you think of this one? Okay. Okay, Seth's having problems again. Seth, if you can hear me, I'm just gonna do my top five and then I'll be done with this because you keep freezing up and I know it's getting irritating to you. Um, but if I had to pick my top five, which I made a list, I left it at work because I did it while I was at work. And I know Seth's top five. Let's see, he sent it to me earlier. Let's see, Shazam is his number five. His number four is Wonder Woman. Three is BVS. Two is Zack Snyder's Justice League, and his number one is Man of Steel. Those are Seth's top five. Um, and then mine are a little bit different. Not surprising to me because I made it on my own. But number five would be Wonder Woman. because I do like the movie quite a bit. Number four is The Suicide Squad. Number three is Man of Steel. And number two is Zack Snyder's Justice League. And number one for me is BVS. And I got to tell you this, and call me crazy, but this is one of my favorite comic book movies of all time. And I am not ashamed to say that. I love it. So Seth's number one is Man of Steel, and mine is. It sucks because the best two movies were the first two released. Really, if you look at it between the two of us, everything was downhill after that. I don't think it was a complete waste, like I said, because I do think that the whole wide world got introduced to Harley Quinn, and she's kind of become an icon outside of being just a comic book icon. Same thing with Wonder Woman and Aquaman. People love Aquaman because of Jason Momoa. Maybe it'll be a different Aquaman next time, but still, at least they know who that character is. Because Marvel built up Captain America, and people knew who Captain America were, but not Iron Man. Maybe not Thor. And this way, we know that. What night, bud? Love you. Sorry, my kid's going to sleep. We know that these characters always exist, and a lot of us as comic fans know about these characters, but not the whole wide world knows who Barry Allen is. They know Batman, they know Superman, but and maybe even Wonder Woman, but they did not know. It's just like Spider-Man. Everybody knew who Spider-Man was. My mom could have told you Superman's origin story or Batman's origin story, but what about Hal Jordan? What about Aquaman or whoever? So that's the one key is these movies brought forth a lot of characters that not everybody knew about. Black Adam, who didn't need a movie, in my opinion. So Blue Beetle, now people know about Blue Beetle. Anyway, um, I don't know, Seth. Seth, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Um, that's my take on the DCEU overall. I had fun. I like most of the movies for the most part. I think I liked them all. So, uh, if you can s- give us your summary of the DCU EU.
It's it's a little messy, but there's some really good films and some not so good films. What I liked about it, especially with the way that it started off, is that um, the DC films were establishing their own identity as opposed to doing um, the same sort of formula or style as Marvel. You know,
Mm-hmm.
um, they were going a little dark, and I mean, you could make the argument that in uh, the post-crisis DC comics are much darker than Marvel in general. Um, and yeah, and I think this universe could have it could have lasted, it could have gone on, but I think there was a lot of just the discourse around these films was a little weird, where it was like people were mad because they weren't feel good films like Marvel. They were more serious takes, much more mature takes, and uh, you know, so I don't know. Like I just overall I appreciated what they were trying to do at first with trying to build this world that's different than their biggest competitor. In all the things I've heard about it, like I was the first half of the movie, I'm just like, whatever. But the second half, I think, especially after it turns into a buddy movie between Arthur and Orm, that's when the film gets a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Agreed.
so by the end, I actually did enjoy Aquaman 2. Shazam Fury of the Gods, which I also didn't get to comment on. Huge letdown for me. Didn't capture the spirit of the first film at all. It was just sort of it tried too hard to be funny, and it just felt bland. And I think Zachary Levi gives a really weird performance because he's playing. He's supposed to be playing, Billy Batson in a adult body, but he's playing it very younger than Billy Batson is in the movie. And I didn't like the fact that Billy Batson was kind of like absent throughout most of the movie. Um, I think the duality was integral to the first one. Yeah, can't remember what else. Oh, I think there may have been something else that I missed out on talking about, but yeah.
Black Adam. No. Blue Beetle, Flash. You didn't get to say much about the Flash, did you? Oh yeah, you did. The last thing I want to do before we go is I want to talk
Yeah.
about a few standout casting decisions in the DCEU. First of all, I want to talk about John Cena as Peacemaker. I thought he was fantastic. Next, I would like to talk about just real fast. I'm going to go through these. I do think The Rock was great as Black Adam. I think he looked the part. He looked more the part when he was younger, when he had hair, but he looked cool. I liked the costume. I thought he looked cool when we first showed up and he had the black hood and cape and everything. Do you have anything you want to say? Jump in, please, if you can. um, Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, obviously, has become a legend. Now everybody loves Margot Robbie. And then the Suicide Squad, the first cast, I loved Will Smith, Joel Kinnaman, and I can't remember his name, Captain Boomerang. Great. I just wish the movie was a little bit better. But most important, Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman was amazing. One of the best casting decisions they made in all of the DCEU. And I would love to see more of her as Wonder Woman. She was perfection. Next up, I will mention Henry Cavill. I love him as Superman. I love Christopher Reeve as Superman. Don't get me wrong. I actually really like Brandon Routh, and I've been watching Superman and Lois. By the way, that show so far has not grabbed me, Seth. I'm 6 episodes in. Well, it's very mid. Hope it gets better. But Henry Cavill was fantastic. He was a great casting decision for a new generation of Superman. I think he might be my favorite overall. I hope David Cornsweet changes that. But the thing that hurts the most for me is losing Ben Affleck as Batman. When he was announced as Batman in August of 2013, the entire internet laughed, just like the entire world laughed at Michael Keaton cast as Batman in 1988. I saw this immediately as a win. Ben Affleck is a good actor when he's in good movies, and when he's directed well, and he was in this. And he looks like he was born to play Batman. He looks exactly like Jim Lee's version of Batman in the face. I mean, exactly. And anybody who says he's not the most comic book accurate Batman, you're out of your mind, because he is. I like Pattinson. Don't get me wrong. I like Pattinson quite a bit. I love Keaton. I did like Kilmer. Clooney could have been a great Batman. I think Christian Bale's the worst. overall. That's just my opinion. Ben Affleck is the best representation of Batman from comic to screen. Period. That's all I got to say about that. Seth's gone, so I'm just going to wrap this up. Thanks for anybody who watched this or watches this. Hopefully, we won't have as many technical difficulties the next time around, which is tomorrow, where we are going to be talking about the Man of Steel on his birthday. It is Superman's birthday tomorrow, and we are going to try to get through an episode of whatever show this is. We'll be streaming 2 nights in a row and talking about the Man of Steel himself, Superman, Clark Kent, Kal-El, whatever you want to call him. The Man of Tomorrow. uh, by the way, a little side note, I'm a huge comic book fan. I write my own comics for Unparalleled Comics. I've been wanting to do stuff like this for a long time. Growing up in the Midwest, which is where I'm from, I didn't have very many fans who were into comics. And my horror outlet now is the Horror Syndicate, and that's taken off. I would love to talk comics and comic book movies with people like Seth on a weekly basis. So please get on here, chime in, just like Sean Sheridan did, and let's talk about some of these movies we love or some of these movies we don't like. We will be starting with Spider-Man from 2002, Sam Raimi's film. Tobey Maguire, Kirsten Dunst, Willem Dafoe, James Franco, all those 22 years later. And then the following week, we're going to talk about Spider-Man 2, which turns 20 this year, which is hard to believe. And then Spider-Man 3. So that's the plan. Hopefully, we can get through some of these technical difficulties. Seth just had a rough night, even on the Horror Syndicate show with his connection. And I don't get it, because Sunday we did a show, and his connection was fantastic. But anyway, we'll get through this. And hopefully we'll get to do more of these shows. I know if you look at the history of the Rage of Razor YouTube channel, there are a decent amount of videos. Some of them are just bullshit I did on Red Dead Redemption 2. There's a video of my kids playing in the snow, and there are a bunch of different streams, like talking about Superman 4 and Superman 3 and the Tomorrowverse and blah, blah, blah. Want to do more videos like this. So hit the subscribe button. I'd really appreciate trying to get to 100 at some point. You guys have a great evening, and I will be back tomorrow, hopefully, with the Man of Steel himself, Superman. So have a great night. This has been a weird night. Have a good one.